Today we're going to be checking out Joshua Bassett. I'm going to check out his recent Zach Sang interview. It's an hour and 35 minutes, so I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I will definitely check some of it out and sort of get an impression of his communication skills and his personality. Let's get into the video here.
What up? I'm Joshua Bassett. I'm here with Zach Sang, and we talked about just about everything you can imagine, so stick around and enjoy.
Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach, and welcome, Joshua Bassett.
Hey, hey, hey. We're here, baby.
Guests definitely seem to feel comfortable for the most part on the Zach Sang show. Obviously, he's a super nice guy. It's clear he does his research. Comfortable vibes off the bat.
I met you years ago. Do you remember this?
Yes, I was just going to say, yeah, way before, it was like a couple weeks before I booked High School Musical. It was like, we met at the Troubadour.
Yes.
And we were talking, and I was a fan of yours because, I watched the show. And
again, part of Zach Sang's skills in terms of making his guests feel comfortable, them opening up, them feeling like themselves.
I met you years ago. Do you remember this?
Yes, I was just going to say, yeah.
Some light stuff at the beginning that establishes your connection. Like, hey, I think we've met before. I think that sort of eases people into maybe a more in-depth conversation. And I'm getting friendly, positive vibes from our boy Josh here right off the bat. Can I call him Josh?
I came to the party dressed as a pineapple,
right.
feeling incredibly uncomfortable. Yes. And who was there to really kind of calm my nerves and concerns but Joshua Bassett.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm a big fan of that costume. That was so good.
It was a mess, a shit show.
It just seems like right away, not an interview, but a two-sided conversation where Joshua's ego's kind of like put to the side. You can tell Josh is definitely just as interested in Zach as Zach is in Josh.
How long have you had that song before you released it?
Oh, it was on my Instagram for a while. That's probably where you heard it. Yeah,
I was listening to it over and over again on your Instagram on repeat.
Wow.
It's so good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Joshua genuinely taking that compliment in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Something that not a lot of us do, right? We deflect the compliment. I think a good strategy in terms of building our confidence in a real way is actually taking in compliments.
The first song I wrote was like super emo, like super, super sad. I was very depressed, which is, okay, here's a funny story about that. The first song that I really wrote, I showed it to a friend, and she literally said, maybe stick to acting. And I was like, oh, okay. 2 weeks later, I'm hanging out with my friend, and I'm telling him about how I'm going up to audition for these different things and whatnot in LA. It was right when I had started. And he literally was like, yeah, okay, good luck. Maybe stick to the singing. And I was like, what the? So both sides said stick to the other, and here I am.
Wow, it sounds like there might be some jealousy and envy in those friends. I mean, maybe they were being honest, right? It's important to have honest feedback from your friends, but my instinct, my sense is a little jealousy maybe. But in reality, I'm liking listening to Joshua because you can tell right away he's getting open and vulnerable, and he has no problem sharing his thoughts and feelings. Just doesn't seem like a closed-off guy.
Okay, so in that moment, you want from your friend honesty. So do you take it as such when somebody says, like, maybe you should stick to not music?
I mean,
do you think it's honest when they're giving it to you?
I don't know.
Good question.
To you?
I don't know. That's tough. I think that girl in particular was very insecure, and I could kind of sense that, and it seemed like she was projecting a little bit of that.
Ooh.
And to me, it wasn't discouraging. It was more so like, okay, I got to keep working hard instead of being like, forget it, because I knew that there was something there, and I personally love the song, and so I was like,
I'm impressed.
And so I was like, I don't know. I think it depends on who it's coming from.
Joshua showing his emotional intelligence there. That's not an easy thing to detect or articulate, especially being at the age that Joshua was at. That's often the case, right? When people don't support you, and as shitty as that feels, a lot of the time that's because of their own insecurities. So they're projecting essentially how they feel about themselves onto you.
Somebody else could have heeded the warning of their friend and took it as, scripture.
100%.
And ended up quitting music the next day.
Yeah. I honestly think it helped because I kind of kept my head down after that and sort of was just writing on my own. And I think because I wasn't looking for approval or I wasn't like showing it to people, I was just continuing to get better and better and better. And then it's funny.
Dude, that's a real sign of confidence right there. And that's what stops a lot of people from going and succeeding and doing things is that need for approval, because you're not going to get that approval from everyone. You're going to get people who doubt you, who don't think you're good enough. And if we listen too much to other people, because approval can boost our ego, right? So we can get lost in that approval trap. It can make us feel good temporarily, but I don't think it does anything to the foundation of who we are, which is truly how we feel about ourselves. If you do get lost in getting approval, then there's going to be the opposite, where if you get negative feedback, you're going to be listening to that too. So you can't listen to the outsiders too much. So good on Joshua for recognizing that, being aware of that, and fighting through that.
It's funny you mentioned common sense, because one of the first people I showed that song to, I showed it to my friend and his dad. And his dad literally said to me, "That's cute. It's not a real song. It's not like a song. It's cute, but it's not a song." And I was like, what the hell does that even mean? So anyway, it's funny how people will, with whether they're insecure or whatever it is. Like,
sometimes it's tough to tell people's intentions, but again, at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself, you got to go with what you think. This is a fascinating conversation. This is great. And this is all the shit that I'm interested in too, right? Talking about all this stuff, insecurity, vulnerability, confidence. Super interesting. Joshua's my type of guy, I can tell already.
Perception of art is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So some old guy could really hear it as like it's not a full song.
right.
Yes.
But also at the same time, like I hear it and I go, I understand this. I
Correct.
feel like I defy common sense all the time.
Totally,
Because
yeah.
my gut tells me to.
Right. Somebody, pretty famous celebrity who I won't say, who's been through like some bad PR stuff, had somebody say to him, "Don't let them tell you who you are." And I was like, oh my God, that's huge. Just hearing the "don't let them tell you who you are." I don't really know the answer to where to find the line on in terms of like knowing if you're good or not. But I think at the end of the day, if you're making something you're proud of and you genuinely love it and it brings joy to you, that's all that you really need to do. And if other people like that, in addition to that, that's wonderful.
Some real good lessons in this interview from both Joshua and Zach. Just like be true to who you are. And actually adding on what Joshua was saying, I think being true to who you are, yes, that's a good thing, obviously. But I think that's going to attract people to you even more. So you're going to get people who don't like you, not going to be into you, but it's going to get people who are more into you on the other end. I'd imagine, just from how Josh was communicating, that he has a real strong fan base.
You hear a lot of times different artists saying, you know, when I was early on in my career, my label forced me to put out this song, and it was either a flop or I hated it or everyone hated it or whatever, and I couldn't even argue because I didn't like it either. And so I think that's where it's really sad. But I don't think that there's anything I've necessarily put out that I can't stand behind. There's plenty that I'm like, I wish I could have done that better. But, you know, in general, I feel like I stand behind everything I've put out.
Wow. Extremely mature, right? Just to have that strong sense of self enough to say, you know what, this isn't me. I can't stand behind this work. I'm not doing it. I mean, imagine he's being honest about that. One of the advantages of being honest when we're communicating, just seems like a very transparent guy, like he's not hiding anything. I think one of the advantages to that is we're not expending all this energy, putting on this persona and this act. It's just, we're being who we are. He seems like a guy who's probably gone through a lot. And why do I say that? The reason I say that is because I think people who have this sort of level of emotional intelligence, which it seems like he's displaying, you know, they've probably encountered some sort of trauma in their life in order to be that perceptive and aware of what's going on.
By the way, I have to comment on your nails.
Oh,
Phenomenal.
Thanks.
What's going on over there? It's a little far for me.
you know, I have Santa Claus, I have Macaulay Culkin, aka
Nice.
Kevin McAllister era Macaulay,
Wow.
screaming on my middle finger. Christmas tree. I got snowman smileys. I got Rudolph.
All decked out.
Elf. Yeah, I'm. It's a little much. I have a fireplace with freaking stockings.
Oh my God. Who did you get those done or did?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you think I did them
No, I
myself?
mean, I don't know.
Oh my God, imagine.
I mean, you can tap dance. What else can you do? I don't
You're
know.
right.
Take an interest in other people. It's one of the things that Joshua is doing here. He's pointing out something that he notices about Zach. Hey, what's up with your nails? Your nails are really cool, right? He's taking an interest in him. And again, I think there's no better way of connecting with other people than taking a genuine interest in them. And Joshua definitely showing that he has the ability to really connect with people. And it looks like him and Zach are really hitting it off.
Do you rent skates or do you own skates?
I don't own skates. I'm not that cool. Yeah, no, but I always
I
say
own
that-
tap shoes. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
wow. Yeah, I think I got tap shoes once, but I got them a little too small, and then I just never got the
You,
bigger size.
you know what? You got to get the tap shoes in the right fit, and you got to break them in right.
For sure. That's huge. I mean,
Yes.
that's everything.
But anyway, I also love LA, Never. But
You hear his active listening. Yeah.
but songs that you haven't really put out, really, they just live on your Instagram, correct?
Yeah.
And he's really making an effort to look at Zach in the eyes when he listens, when he speaks, and to really be present with him.
No, literally. I always say that like you can't write a song unless you've like at least done some of the emotional processing, because what I, in my life, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, like, I numb a lot in general, like whether it's through TikTok or through whatever it might be, I'm numbing myself a lot. And I found myself numbing all the time, and then
Talked about relatability, right?
I numb a lot in general, like whether it's through TikTok or through whatever it might be.
And I find myself just nodding my head and like agreeance, being like, yeah, man, me too. And I'm sure a lot of you probably feel the same way when listening to him. It's like, yeah, man, I can relate to you. And that's what we're ultimately trying to do, I think, in general as human beings, is connect with others. And I think it's easy to connect with Josh. He lets us do that because of his transparency.
And then going into sessions and like trying to just open up and be emotionally vulnerable, and you can't like turn it off and on like a switch. It just doesn't work like that. And so I realized if I want to be open and vulnerable in my songs, I have to be open and vulnerable in my real life, and then it'll come through the songs, and it worked every time.
He's doing it.
I think that's been the thing stopping me the most, is like this fear of like, oh, I can't write this because, what are people going to think, or because it's going to hurt this person, or whatever it might be. And I think that has like stunted me the most. And so what I've just tried to do is really, when I'm in the studio, be like, you can say whatever you need to say, whatever is honest. And then you never have to put out the song, but at least be honest with yourself and do the song justice in the moment. And that tends to work every time.
Super aware guy, right? That's sort of the duality with a guy like Joshua. It's like he's got this real empathetic side. So, it's this battle of like, he's this super aware guy. He's aware of other people's emotions and feelings. He's aware of his surroundings, right? Really emotionally intelligent. But he's also like very honest and holds that to a high standard. So I can see why that would be difficult for a guy like Joshua, but it seems like a good strategy. It seems like he's sort of got it figured out, and I'm interested in learning more about him.
Do you think there are other artists asking themselves that exact same question?
So this is a really interesting conversation that I think I might have to pick up later, but I'm glad I got a sneak peek into Joshua. So guys, if you want to watch the uncut reaction of the beginning of this interview, you can. All you need to do is click on my Patreon link below. Other than that, I appreciate you tuning in. My name is Max. I will catch you soon. Peace.